Hey Boss Fam, welcome back to Season 2. This is Episode 14. We are broadcasting from Real Talk Houston Studios, but today we are actually in the Think Tank because we got some serious topics going on today. So I have with me here, I have Dietrich, I have Kyra, I have Miss Nicole. Today's episode is actually sponsored by First Houston Appraisal LLC, and they specialize in residential real estate appraisals in the greater Houston area. They offer experienced, top-level valuations that are performed with the highest ethical standards and qualifications by their appraisers. So if you guys need a residential appraisal, please contact Brian at 713-416-4136. Again, that's 713-416-4136. And that's First Houston Appraisal LLC. Today we're going to talk with some real survivors. We got real talk, real survivors. And we're going to talk about toxic and unhealthy relationships, you guys, surviving cancer, depression, as well as grief management. Those are some very serious topics. I had a lot of people that were asking me for this particular episode. So we are here today, and we're going to go ahead and peel away some layers and talk about those topics. Okay? So I'm going to let my co-hosts, my guests introduce themselves today. So I have Dietrich Donnell here.
Yes, I'm Dietrich Donnell, celebrity chef. I was on Ready to Love season, I think it's 3.5 they call it. I also was a culinary producer on Top Chef. I've done about 4 or 5 commercials now. A couple of them are actually on the national level. So yeah, just trying to keep on pushing through.
Yes, yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. Well, welcome again to Real Talk Houston with Carlotta B. And here I have Kyra Coffee. You guys, tell us about yourself. Who are you?
Hi, my name is Kyra Coffee. I am an attorney here in Houston. I focus on business, trademarks, estate planning, and probate. I'm also an entrepreneur in the areas of trucking and government contracting. I met Dietrich on Ready to Love. I don't know what number. They're kind of funny with the numbers, but the Ready to Love Houston season is where you may have also seen my face.
Welcome. Thanks, Kyra. And Nicole, tell us about yourself.
Yes, hi. My name is Nicole Booker. I am married to Gusta Booker III, and I have a daughter named Peyton Booker. I am also work with the Houston Area Urban League, which is a nonprofit in the community. My background is social work, and of course I'm always trying to help in the community and do things for the community, so thank you.
And you work with a major nonprofit organization here in the Houston area. You do great work with them, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
You are amazing. You're amazing.
I don't like to talk about myself.
And, okay, well, we only asked for like a minute, so now's the time to toot your horn.
Right.
You do great work in the community.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. So the topics we're going to discuss today, guys, again, it's toxic and unhealthy relationships, depression, managing grief, and cancer survivors. Okay, all of those are very real elements that we're being faced with every day. A lot of people don't know that they're suffering with these particular illnesses, and there are illnesses. It's a mental illness. So we definitely need to tackle these. We need to get them out in the forefront. We need to talk about them, how to handle them, the journey. We're going to talk about the journey of my 3 guests today and how they survived, how they are conquerors. They actually overcame all of these different situations that they were faced with. Okay, some of the statistics are depression actually impacts 280 million people in the U.S. And those were only people that were actually diagnosed and raised their hands and said, hey, I have a problem, something's wrong. So just imagine those of us that are walking every day, head hung low, sad, depressed, and we're just trying to get through life and have not been diagnosed with that yet. Okay? Toxic relationships, abusive relationships, whether it's verbal, physical, emotional, has been on the rise. The numbers are really, really high for that since 2019, and that also coincides with when we got impacted by COVID. So that number skyrocketed through the roof because a lot of these people were locked up in the same house day in, day out, with nowhere to
A
go.
lot of divorces.
So a lot of things came out, a lot of secrets came out. So, you know, you guys, that led to depression, and unfortunately, it also led to a lot of abusive relationships. Okay, and cancer, 1.6 million cancer people were diagnosed with cancer in the past year. So that number kind of is an estimate on a yearly basis. 1.6 million people every single year is diagnosed with some form of cancer. Okay, so those are some really high numbers. Okay, so we're going to peel away some layers again today. We're going to talk about that. So Dietrich has suffered with and overcame, thank God, cancer and depression. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. I'm sure maybe the two of those went hand in hand. That was probably an issue with you. But can you start out by telling us what type of cancer did you have to contend with? How long ago was that? And what was your first reaction when you learned the news? Walk us through that.
Okay, well, first let me let you know that the cancer and depression aren't together. They aren't correlated at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
okay.
when I first found out about cancer, it was actually back in 2000, I think it was 13, if I'm not mistaken. I was first diagnosed.
Okay.
And the doctor actually came in and he was crying. And so I'm looking at him, and at the time I was married, and I was like, what's going on? You know, he was like, I'm sorry, Mr. Don, you're such a great person, but I'm scared to tell you this, but you have cancer. And I was like, okay. I was like, all right, so am I going to die? But I got like a month, a couple of days or something, because he was crying. And I couldn't understand why he was crying, you know.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, no, it's nothing about that. He's like, I just met you and we've had a good rapport. And he's like, I just don't want to see somebody just go down from this, you know. And so I was like, well, hey, let's get it moving. Like, I'm not concerned with any of the other stuff. Like, if you're not telling me that you expected me to die in a month, then, I'm good. Then let's go. Like, what is the next move? And so in that being that way, I just, I took it one day at a time, really. But I made sure that I was always mindful of being happy and smiling and constantly, laughing and putting myself in places where there was no negativity going on. You know what I'm saying? I always wanted to be positive. Wherever I went into, I always had to either say a joke or something to try to, keep the room smiling. It was negativity is huge.
Yes. It is.
In your thought process, of making sure that you can overcome something like this, because your body is basically decaying.
Yeah, right.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah. So you were trying to remain positive, and he broke down. He was in tears. So you were the strong one in the situation.
Right,
And he's the
exactly.
doctor.
Right.
So I'm sure he had to tell some other people. Like, he saw something.
I know. Was that his first?
Yeah.
No, he just
diagnosis. Having to tell somebody.
No, the thing about it is my ex-wife, and it's funny that you said it, but my ex-wife at the time, my wife, but she said to me, she said, he just sees the God in you, Dietrich. And he's close to you, because he was really close to me, you know what I'm saying? Like, we just kind of hit it off from day one, And he was actually the second doctor that I had met up with, because the first doctor I met up with was a female. Shout out to all my females, you know what I'm saying? Like, for real, because I went to other doctors and all of them kept telling me nothing was wrong with me.
That happened to my
And she
husband.
was the one who found it. She's like, your blood, she told me my blood, whatever, platelets or whatever, something was funny shaped.
Okay.
And so at first she was like, we need to get you tested, because they thought, African American sickle cell. That's what they thought. But then once they started doing the test, she found out that it was actually lymphoma. So
Wow, lymphoma. And now that you mentioned that, somewhat of the misdiagnosis, I actually just traveled this weekend for a friend that passed.
Okay.
Prostate cancer. He's a friend to a really good girlfriend of mine, and it was prostate cancer, but they diagnosed it a couple of times as kidney stones.
Wow.
So kidney stones, misdiagnosed months and months and months ago, and then when they kept saying no, that's not it. So long story short, he came to Houston, MD Anderson. Shout out to MD Anderson, but they said no. It's prostate cancer.
And by that time, it was progressed.
Too late.
Wow.
Too late. So maybe like four days later,
Wow.
unfortunately, he passed.
4 days later.
4 days later, because it had gotten to the point where they were like, no, we have to go to MD Anderson because they're not from here, and they heard MD Anderson is the absolute,
That's who did. That's who did. Yeah, that's
came
who did
here,
for me.
and it was too late. So by the time they started to try to work on him, it was too late.
I tell people all the time to make sure you're paying attention to your body, and when something is wrong, I don't care if that doctor says something, go, because if your body will tell you, and you know instinctively something is not
Something's
right.
wrong.
Like I had breast tumors before, they were not cancerous,
Good.
but when I felt them, I didn't know what it was, and I went to a doctor, like they were kind of dismissive of it, and at that time I was like 20 something, so I was like, no, this is not right.
Right.
So I went to someone, I did get them removed, and then more recently, like I felt one again, and I went to the doctor, and the doctor was like, oh, well, it could. I said, either you're going to schedule me for a mammogram or I will find my own way to schedule myself for a mammogram.
Yeah, don't dismiss it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I need to know.
Yeah.
So I tell people, I'm so sorry to hear that about your friend, but
Yeah, you have to
make
get
sure you
3,
have to
4,
keep
5,
pushing.
6 opinions. If one guy, doctor says nope, it's nothing. I always recommend keep going. Just make doubly sure.
Yeah.
Don't just take the first
Your
diagnosis
body
you
will tell
guys.
you, and you know when your body is like,
Yeah, we gotta listen to our body because it will talk to us.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
So, Aditya, what was your biggest self-discovery or revelation about yourself, or like in general, after you were diagnosed?
That it's all a mindset. It's really all a mindset.
Yeah.
You know, so you could take something, somebody could give you something, they can give you something and tell you, hey, this is what's going on. But it's all a mindset. Even if it's negative, you can turn it into a positive. You know what I'm saying? So, so and I don't be trying to preach to people, but my faith doesn't allow me to take it in any other way than that. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, nah, I still got stuff I got to do. I was like, God, I know God, you ain't ready. I know you're not ready for me to come yet. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I got ways.
Not ready.
Right. So I just, I kept rolling.
Strength and resilience and positivity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very much so.
That does play a big role. Don't ball yourself up in a knot in a fetal position and think life is over because
it's over.
Yeah.
Because even when you're going through it, you're still living. Even when you're going through the stuff, you're still living. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta just keep on going. And doctors, how many times doctors tell people, "Oh, you're gonna die tomorrow," and they live years and years and years on. You know what I'm saying? Still on that feeling of, "Oh, I'm dying tomorrow." You know what I'm saying? Can you imagine
misery, pure
misery? Can you
misery.
imagine somebody coming and telling you that you have like a month left?
No.
And then you live like years later, but you're still in your head, you're waiting for yourself to die.
It's vague.
Get put in hospice. There's been people that have been in hospice. They tell them this is it, call the family, and then they live. So
they live to get out. So that's critical. Mindset.
It is.
It's your mindset. It's your mindset.
That's good.
Yeah,
I ain't got the final say.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Always. Exactly. So, your depression. When did that happen? What happened? What brought it on?
Okay, so my depression has stemmed from military. Things I've seen.
What branch?
Navy.
Oh, Navy.
Okay. Yeah, but we went through like a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying?
I'm sure.
Just out there seeing things, witnessing certain stuff that, you normally wouldn't see. You know what I'm saying? And the crazy thing about it is nowadays I'm seeing where people now are so desensitized. You know what I'm saying? And it's really sad because we see so much on TV now. Before they used to not show stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, you turn first 48 and there's like a dead body like right there. Like, you're not supposed to see that. If you never saw that, you're not supposed to see that.
You got
Now
kids watching TV
and that's what I'm saying.
everything.
So now imagine if you are a young mother or whatever, and you're sitting there doing something, and you got your child right next to you, your toddler, and they're watching this on TV. You know what I'm saying? Now you already. Then you know what I'm saying, scarred them for life, and you don't even really know it because we don't take it that serious. But that's so a lot of times when people be like, you know, you old school and stuff, I'm like, yeah, but like that old school works though.
Yes,
you know,
it
there
does.
was reasons behind certain things that were, you know, put in place, or hey, you don't be around all this because we don't need you around
There's
this.
a
'Cause you ain't,
reason.
yeah. But nowadays, you know, we're set on just
Fully exposed.
right.
Yeah.
And so it makes us desensitized. And so I know when I was going through things and seeing stuff, you know, and friends seeing things like that, we never really talked. We just all kind of like just
Bottled it in.
bottled it in and just kept it in, you know. And it always comes out. It can either come out in anger, or it can come out in where sometimes you can't even adjust to certain things. And you just like, you'll shut down. You know what I'm saying? And you'll go into a dark room. You know what I'm saying? I mean, PTSD. It's a real. But you know, a lot of people they say they always want to correlate it with military. But what I tell people is it's not just military that can have. Anyone can have PTSD. All it is post-traumatic stress disorder.
Right.
So it's when you have went through something dramatic. Traumatic. That you know what I'm saying, it could be anything. You know, when you go through that trauma, it affects you, and if you don't talk about it, then it just stays inside, and then it keeps morphing into something bigger than you know, and you can never. Unless you talk about it and get past it, it's just going to stay there. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people don't want to talk about it, and they just end up being old, depressed, you know, bitter people. You know,
Exactly.
So.
That's true.
That's true. I work with a lot of veterans, and man, they sometimes they just can't get it together based on what you're saying. They saw a lot.
They saw a lot.
They saw children getting killed. You know, just,
right.
I'm no doctor,
Yeah.
but I do believe that when people go through PTSD or have emotional traumas that they do bottle up, it does have a physical manifestation. And you know, I feel like there is some link between unspoken emotional distress and cancer, or you know, physical illness on our bodies. So it's very important, you know what I'm saying, like you say, to talk about those things and get it out.
Get it out.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of them don't want to talk about it because they have to relive it.
I can understand.
And
I can only imagine.
And that's the thing about a lot of them have to relive it again and reliving that whole situation. For
It's
some
just as
people,
traumatic.
And then, but I've also noticed where a lot of like the wives, like a lot of them end up getting divorced. Because the wives
They
just
can't handle it.
Well, they don't. So the thing about it is that what they should be doing is equipping the ladies to be able to understand what their husbands are actually going through, but what they don't. And so you got a lady who has a husband. She's been in love. They've been in love, and then all of a sudden he starts going through something traumatic, and it could have been something that he saw.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That keep them right back into where he was before.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Like with me, I can go around large crowds, but I don't really like large crowds.
Okay.
Like it makes me very nervous.
Yeah.
So I know you probably know when we go out, I'm always standing. They're like, sit down. And I'm like, I'm like looking at.
Are you okay? He's like,
I'm good, but I'm like looking at everything. I can see every person moving weird, and I'll be like, I'll just look at them like, okay.
Right.
You know,
I got my own.
yeah. So it's good to have me there as that, but sometimes it makes people nervous because they're like, why you look so mad? You know, I'm like, I'm not mad. I'm just.
You ready?
I'm in observe mode.
He's ready to position.
I'm in position.
That's what I feel. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of how it impacted you. So my next question was going to be, how were you impacted by your cancer journey as well as your depression journey? But you've kind of answered that because it makes you a lot more alert.
Right.
You're more observant.
Right.
And of course, positivity is key.
Right.
The people around you, like, did they know you? How did your friends, did anyone treat you differently when you were dealing with your cancer and your depression?
No, so the depression, I didn't really like share
know
too
you were
much.
depressed.
Yeah, I don't really share too much because most people see me smiling. You know, I'm joking a lot. I joke a lot,
Yes, you
so
do.
they see that. So they're like, you know, they don't really know that side of me. You know, but as far as like the cancer, I mean, I don't know. Most people I would say most of the people that's closest to me see me kind of like as a Superman. So it's like, oh, he'll be all right. You know what I'm saying? Because like a lot of my friends, they was like, you got cancer, like you one of the healthiest people I know. Like you eat healthy, you live that life, you know. And that's another thing I want to say too. Food, like we have to watch what we eat.
Okay, yeah.
Like we don't want to have that conversation.
Yeah.
But especially in the African American community, like we have got to understand that what we're doing, we're actually causing harms to our body. Yes, it tastes good. Yes, I get it. Like I understand. Like I get it. But you gotta find another way. Like
What's a lot?
was the banana pancakes nasty?
They were amazing.
Banana pancakes?
Banana pancakes, you guys.
Did you have the banana pancakes in my cake?
Makes the best.
No.
You didn't get the
I
banana
didn't get it, but I
pancakes?
got this other little like sweet potato with like some turkey, brown turkey
Yeah,
and eggs.
and eggs.
I like that one.
You did?
Girl, yes.
Yeah, it was super, super good. Don't get me wrong. But, however, I will be ordering the banana pancakes like forever.
Yeah.
Are you vegan?
Forever.
No, not
Oh,
vegan,
girl, no.
Okay. So it's
No,
okay.
Eat a lot of
I eat,
milk.
I eat meat and
Okay.
stuff like that. I believe in moderation on everything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but
that's key.
I see how we just every weekend we're
Wings and waffles.
Every weekend.
At the brunch.
it's not really healthy. We're like destroying our bodies. But then we don't understand, you know, it's like we want to take it serious once we have to go to the doctor.
Then we
You know
want
what
to
I'm saying?
straighten
Then
up.
we want to take it serious, but we still don't want to then. And then also when you start building that unhealthy habit, now that stays with you. And it's hard to break that. It's hard to break that habit.
It is.
Yeah.
So in a nutshell, let's talk about, you had just kind of circled back. In a nutshell, healthy eating. What are give us the absolute top 5 things that we really need to cut out of our diets. If you can. I mean, if that's possible. Like, is it pork? Is it, what do we
I don't
need
eat a lot of pork.
What do we need to stop? What do we need to stop eating in order to try to go toward that healthy life?
More than concentrating on the negative stuff, I like to concentrate on the positive. But I will tell you, anything processed, we need to cut that out of our lives. We need to cut that out of our lives completely. Anything processed.
Okay.
You should always be around the outer edge of the store. That's where all the, like, you walk in, there's usually fruits and vegetables and stuff like that. You have your meats right there and stuff.
Okay.
When you start going in the inside with all the canned vegetables, we need to get away from that.
Okay.
Back in the day, we had our people, they actually canned.
Okay.
And it's a shame that I asked the younger generation, hey, do you can or do you know about canning? And they're like, canning? What is canning? And I'm like, where do you think that came from? Like, they actually had jars of glass, and it was filled with something. So canned fruits and vegetables, all that stuff, we need to cut that completely out of our lives.
Okay.
Like, it's not good.
Yeah.
It's not
Cut out
good.
canned foods.
Yeah, cereal.
I don't eat cereal.
Cereal is really bad. Cereal is really bad. It's really bad for you. And even the ones you think are like healthy, like Cheerios,
Raisin Bran.
like Cheerios.
Raisin Bran is bad too?
Yeah.
It's the process that they do. It's the whole process that they do.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? Frozen, all those frozen foods, pizzas and all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm okay on pizza.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm okay on that.
Any of that stuff that has like an extra long lifespan, like you keep it in for like 20 years, you know what I'm saying?
Right. That part.
Oh my God.
Like any of that type of stuff, you gotta imagine you're taking that into your system, and whatever chemical that was that they used to preserve that, now you're putting that in your system.
Okay. Okay.
So,
I got you.
Also, this helps you not person not be on all these medications, because I work a lot with seniors, and it's food deserts. They don't get healthy foods, so their medicine is just, they have so much medication, and they always like, if I could just afford to get healthy food, I wouldn't have to take all this medicine. And when they finally get the healthy foods, they start cutting back on the medication.
but you know what though, I will say this one other thing:
Okay, I'm listening.
vegan foods.
Vegan foods, okay.
Yes, they're processed.
What?
I'm not saying that
I didn't know
Vegan
that.
foods are
A
processed?
lot of them are
Wait a
processed.
minute.
A lot of them.
No
are
way, I did not know that.
A lot of
Because
them
for
are
you to get
processed.
soy meat that came from a bean,
That's
how did you
processed.
transfer to that?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't think that deep.
The stuff
Oh my
is,
gosh.
a lot of that
Okay.
stuff is processed, and a
Wow.
lot of it is made right there in the lab.
But it's a big thing.
Wow.
It's a big thing because it's a money maker.
Money
That's
maker.
why it's a money maker.
Wow.
And so anything that's a money maker,
Yeah,
they're gonna
yeah.
push you.
For sure.
You know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Yes,
So
yes,
if
yeah.
if
Wow.
Yeah,
It was
so
fat
you-
free, remember? Fat free.
Wow.
fat free is good, but
Yeah.
but the bad thing about fat free now is that they've added salt. So
It's
you have to add the
sodium.
sodium to make it taste better.
Right.
Because we like to eat
We
with
do.
things for
We
stuff
want to
that
taste
tastes
the
good.
flavor.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Well, this keep me with
Okay.
But that's a misconception that people believe that healthy food is expensive. It's really not. You just got to know what to do. You just got to know what to
How to
shop.
shop.
A lot of
If you
people-
stay on that
yeah,
outside
okay.
area, you're going to be perfectly fine.
Yeah.
It's not expensive. It's really not.
Go back
Okay.
to the freezer.
That
parts
is
and
one of
then
the
go-
myths that it's so expensive to
Yeah.
eat good. I have to go to Whole Foods.
Yeah, you don't have to
I have
go.
to buy everything organic, and it's going to cost an arm and a leg. I hear
Right.
that. A lot of
Yeah,
people
it's-
talk about
it's-
that. They want to do right, but they think it costs
But
an arm
then
and
they
a leg.
spend all that money on the medication, so you might as well
Because they're
spend it
sick.
on the food.
Because they're sick.
Right.
This is true.
There you go.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so that's really good. It helps a lot to hear how you went through your journey, how you made it through, how you were impacted by it, and how you overcame your depression. And again, key is your thought process.
Right.
It's what you tell yourself. If you tell yourself, okay, I have 10 days to live, I'm out of here. Yeah, you feeding that to your soul.
Right.
You're manifesting the fact that you have 10 days left. So positivity.
Right.
So that's really, really great. I really appreciate you sharing that story.
No problem.
And I know it's because we only have an hour, and I really want to talk to you guys one by one, and I'll probably have you guys back season 3 to one by one to talk about it, because there's so much more that I want to talk to you about,
Right.
and the audience I'm sure want to hear that as well. However, we're going to have to move over
Right.
to Kyra. So we're going to talk to Kyra, you guys. Kyra is an overcomer, you guys. Toxic and unhealthy relationships is going to be our topic today with Kyra. So first, I want to talk to you about hate that happened, but I'm glad you are out of that situation and you're doing so much better now, and you are your own woman, minus all the unhealthiness in your relationships. So how long ago did this happen, and did you see any red flags right away, or were you baffled by when it happened?
For sure. So the relationship ended 6 years ago. Maybe 6 years. 6 years is a change now.
Okay.
But it lasted for 9 years.
Oh,
the relationship
wow.
was 9 years.
Okay.
And there were definitely a lot of signs.
Was it a marriage? Or?
No, we were not married.
Okay.
A lot of that time was a toxic relationship where it was a manipulation of not even being in a committed relationship, but we're acting like it's a committed relationship. So it was a mess, to say the least. But there were a lot of signs that I saw, and I don't want to jump ahead of myself, but I definitely saw them, and realizing them was the main part of my healing process.
Okay.
So I'm gonna hold off to that, but there were definitely a lot of signs the main thing with our relationship was, and when we have toxic relationships, I know it's easy to look at the other person and point the finger at them, but I think sometimes toxic relationships are a result of broken people who may be together beyond the purpose of what God intended them to be together for, whether it's out of comfort, whether it's out of immaturity, whether it's out of your own issues that you haven't worked through. So I'm not even pointing a finger at him. I mean, he did a lot of stuff that was like, really? Okay. But I allowed it. And so I have, to deal with that, post-relationship and moving forward.
Okay. So let's talk about the red flags. What did you see? And what did you do when you started seeing all those red flags? What were you thinking?
So when I saw the red flags were, some mental manipulation, some cheating, some, not really telling the truth, or gaslighting is something that I think when you're in a situation and you're not whole and complete yourself or mentally strong in certain areas, that is easy to fall victim and not even realize that you're being mistreated in this way. So a lot of it for me was cheating, gaslighting, and just not really a healthy relationship with regards to manipulation and how I was handled. But I allowed it. I allowed it.
You stayed and you tried to. So in your mind, were you thinking, okay, I love this guy, I'm going to try to make it work? Why did you stay so long? Because there's so many people out there that are stuck in those relationships. So what was going through your head?
When the relationship finally ended, and I felt like it ended because God was like, okay, child, I am literally over this. Because the way that it happened, it was a very random series of events and how we ended. But when it did end, I was like, okay, I know you're mad, Kyra. I know you're going to grieve. But more importantly, let's have a conversation. You know who you are. You know what value you have. Like, how in the hell did you allow this to go on for 9 years? You know you deserve way better than this. You know you can get way better than this. What's really going on? And so for me, I have realized that I had a pattern in relationships. First, you have to realize, okay, this is not the first one. So let's think back. What's going on? I realized I had a pattern of making someone realize that I'm worthy enough of them staying. And so that was, then I had to do a little bit more digging. Where is that coming from? Well, I do not know really my biological father. And growing up, I never really thought to, my mom was there. I have a stepdad. My mom was checking, are you sure you're good? So I never really even was aware of having this mental challenge. And so for me, even to acknowledge to myself, because I felt like I'm the strong person, I've overcome a lot in life. So, but when it came to this, I had to realize you're very wounded and you don't realize you're wounded. And so this father trauma that you thought you didn't have, that you don't want to be cliche and saying, I have a daddy issue, because it's common, it just is what it is. And so I had to address that root cause to never repeat that pattern again. And so I took some time after that relationship. I met a guy, he was a great guy, but I was like, hey, I'm not in a space to date. So I was just really working on myself and kind of going through that healing process so that I got to the root cause so that I could have healthier relationships and not just pointing the finger at this person. Yes, it was toxic, but it was more important as to how I allowed it, like you say, for so long, and what was my accountability in this whole process. And so, summing up for me, it was a feeling of making them feel like I was worthy enough of them not leaving and setting myself up for that to be manipulated.
Well, you were physically abused, but you
No.
You felt like it was verbally abused?
So it was definitely a mental manipulation. It was definitely mental manipulation. And I don't even think that it was intentional on his behalf. Just when two broken people come together, it's breeding ground for a very toxic situation.
That's true. And sometimes when it's not physical, it will cause you to stay longer.
Because they're saying, oh,
Right.
well, you see
Right,
how big
right.
When you got a black eye,
Right.
you can see that.
See it better,
Right.
exactly.
You can't see that. That's
Exactly. And the gangs and how that warfare
Yeah.
goes
Right,
on.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you didn't get any professional counseling at all, right? You just kind of talked yourself through and
So
prayed
there
about
was
it.
a lot
Were
of
you spiritual
conversations
at
with,
that time?
yes.
Okay.
So I was definitely grown up in the church, so it was a lot of conversations with me and God. And like I say, I know that God pulled me out of that relationship because He was like, okay, child, like I've been waiting on you. You taking too long. Let me put my hand
You're
on this.
not
You know,
moving around.
exactly.
You just go ahead and move
Exactly.
your
But no,
situation.
God was
Yeah.
definitely a big factor.
Okay.
I did go to some counseling. I honestly feel like everybody should go to counseling to some degree. And what was interesting, I remember the first meeting that I had with this one counselor, and she had asked me, we were talking, we're going, and I'll say stuff that I've been through, and they're just like, you just let it roll off your tongue. I'm like, yeah, well, it's been that. That's life. You just gotta keep rolling with the punches.
Yeah.
And so I don't like to cry. I don't like to cry. So then she asked me, well, why do you feel like you're not worthy of love? I don't know where she got that from, but when she said it, it broke me. I was like, I don't know where you pulled that from. I don't know how in your knowledge, but you must know what you're doing.
Right.
And she said, we're not going to get into it today, but that's part of your homework. I want you to think on why you feel like you're not, she didn't say why you're not ready for love. She said why you don't deserve love.
Okay. Why
She
you
said,
feel like you don't deserve
right, she
love.
said, why do you feel like you don't deserve love? Y'all got this show in my head. She said, why do you feel like you don't deserve love? And I was like, what? Girl. I'm like, I just met you, woman. Girl, exactly.
How did you even, so your healing process took you how long before you were actually ready for another fulfilling and fruitful, authentic relationship? When did you open yourself up to that?
So it definitely, before I even started dating, it was at least a year and a half.
Okay.
It was at least a year and a half. And then,
Yeah.
okay, let me date. And because I had been in that relationship so long, I wasn't really ready to jump into another serious relationship because not saying you need to see what's out here to see what's out here, but you need to see what's out here to know what actually works for you. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So you only know this one thing. You may limit your thinking and think that this is the best for me, and it's not because you've never tried or experienced anything different.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
I was like, okay, let me date around. Not date, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Dates.
Right, dates. Maturely date.
Right.
And dating though for me, like committed relationships are for a purpose. Dating, it could be part. I'm very honest when I date.
Good.
So it's we're getting to know each other. We'll see where it goes. But it's for me to there's self-discovery in dating.
It is.
Discovering what you want in a partner, what works for you, what doesn't work.
Right.
And then as far as like knowing that I'm ready for a committed relationship, I would say that was about in the last 3 years. So if that happened 6 years ago, I took a year and a half off. Then dated around for another year and a half or so, and then it was like, okay, like I'm ready for a serious relationship, right?
I'm ready to love. Okay. So how about children? So children in these relationships, and I know that wasn't that wasn't applicable to your situation, but what about children that are stuck in these relationships? You got parents that stay married forever, and they're staying married for the kids. The kids could be toddlers. They stayed married for 18 years and they're absolutely miserable and they're staying for the children. That has to be a very negative visual for the kids to see because they don't know what real love is, right?
I have a friend
They see these miserable parents
Yeah.
and they get in these toxic relationships as well because they don't know a healthy relationship. When they see
All
one.
they see is what they see. So
All they know is what they see.
Exactly. I have a friend in that situation. And they've separated now. It's still toxic separated, but they have to co-parent. But when they were together, he would say a lot that well, I don't want to be another statistic where I'm not in the same household as my boys and whatnot. And I was like, well, I get that, but forget statistics. What's best for these boys individually, and for them individually. You two being in a relationship and being in the same house is not healthy for them.
Right.
And
the kids know.
If
You
it's
see
toxic.
it.
Yeah, Yeah, they see
They
it.
see mommy and daddy sleeping in separate rooms, not speaking,
Or
cussing each
fighting.
other out.
Fighting,
like,
These
arguing.
kids are not, they're not
That's
dumb.
my-
Yeah, they're very,
Yeah,
they're very
yeah.
comprehensive.
When
They
y'all know how
can
to-
see.
They be doing this when they get your phone. You're like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
wait,
you're
just
only,
born like
you're only
6 weeks.
12 months old.
Yeah.
You're already calling people and scrolling on the
Scrolling.
internet, surfing.
Yeah,
one
My
thing-
grandson texting. Yes, texting. We're talking about it.
One thing
Yeah.
that I've learned, like even in my own, like you think as a child things don't impact you.
Yeah.
And they do. So whatever
Yeah, they
your, you know,
Oh, yes.
I thought I was totally fine. Heck no, I wasn't. So if you know, you have to realize that children are absorbing things, and it's becoming a part of how they identify and see life and see relationships and see love and communication
Yes.
and dispute resolution and all of that. So if you're not showing them how to do this stuff in a healthy way, then you're not setting them up in the best way.
Exactly. Because they don't know what they don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah, they know what they see, and that's what it is.
What I like about you, you're about your truth. Some people can't do what you just do. What
Thank
you.
you.
Doing. You know, they don't want to admit
Yes.
they was in a talk. And not only did you say he was, you said, because you did it like, it wasn't me, it was him, girl.
Yeah,
She's like, I had to recognize that I was being,
Right.
this was toxic on both ways.
Yeah.
And you went
Yeah.
to help for it, you were aware about it, you know? So
Yeah.
that's good.
But you have to get to that point where
You're able to
you
do
like,
that.
hold on now. What is really going on? You have to look at yourself and you have to know that there is better and want better. And that is not how God designed for us to be in relationships. You know, that's not how He designed for us to deal with each other.
Right. He doesn't want us to be miserable.
No.
So what if you're in a relationship, a marriage, let's say, situation, true story, marriage, physical abuse, verbal abuse, emotional abuse, kids are involved, and I'm talking blatant disrespect in the face, I don't want you anymore. Yes, I'm cheating, everything. Yeah, I'm with somebody else, just everything, but will not leave. In the same house, will not leave, okay?
Who are we?
But the person is, the wife, the guy don't want to leave. The wife is saying, and of course, I want my marriage. I love my husband. I want this relationship. I don't believe in divorce. I don't want God to condemn me. So there's scriptures in the Bible that speak to, abusive situations, adultery. If you're exposed to all of those things and you've tried your best and for a while now, not just 2 days, I tried for 2 days, I'm out of here. No, trying. What can we say to someone that is so spiritually grounded and want to please God that they're staying in an abusive relationship?
I want you to be
So this is how I see God. I do see God as He is a God of rule and law and order.
Right.
But more importantly, above all that, He is a God of love.
That's right.
Right.
So I understand that, yes, divorce and all these things and respect of the union and this, that, and the other. But if all of the other things where the marriage is supposed to be are violated, then that is not a union that I'm not married, but that is not a union that I would see God wanting you to uphold. He's not going to uphold you to suffer at the hands of someone that is not trying. So if you're being abused and all that other stuff, I do not see God being a God that, out of all the love and grandness that He is, to say stay in that relationship because of what my rules and law and order are. When you're being physically abused, your children are being,
they're seeing it,
right? So they're being abused in their own way by being witnesses to that.
Children,
So no, and I don't know if it's a manner of, there are ways, I don't know if, like, I know some women say because he may be the breadwinner or things like that, but there are organizations that will help women who are in these situations that need, support transitioning and things like that.
That is right.
No, and I don't ever want a woman to feel like she did not do her part or she is the reason why he is doing this or she's no.
Yeah.
Each person has to be accountable for their behavior in a marriage, and when you've done your part, that's all you can do. You turn over to God, and when it's still what it is, I believe that God is telling you to leave.
Yes, and I don't believe that with all my heart.
I don't know, but
yes.
That's I'd be surprised how many people stay in
Yes, so many people are trapped.
because I work with people like that, and when I say, well, okay, we got to go file charges in order for me to do this, this, and that. I mean, get them my house, help them or whatever. Then they just, I'm not filing charges.
They don't want to.
And
But
it's
they're already like understand. They're not only victimized, but there is a certain mental lock that has happened or transitioned in that person that this person, that the manipulator, because it wasn't just now today I'm abusing you. It was a progression of mentally locking into that person that they're not even thinking right. They're not seeing it logically. They're not. So I know for us we're like leave, but for that person, how their brain has been rewired with regards to this person, it's not that easy for them.
It's not,
which breaks my heart, but they have some, sometimes people can pull on the children and saying, you're subjecting your children to this, and sometimes for the sake of the children, they'll leave. But a lot of times when it's just a woman and a man, they will stay because, it's just messed up.
Guess who beat up each other the most? Females.
Oh, on women and women relationships.
Oh, they fight a lot. Oh wow.
Yes.
Okay, that's another section.
That's another time.
Okay.
That's another thing.
Okay, so Kyra, thank you so much for sharing.
For sure.
Very good information on toxic and unhealthy relationships. The good thing is, like Dietrich, you were able to kind of pull yourself out of it. You had to be yanked by your chain by God to get you out of it, which is great. Whatever works is great. So now we're going to move on to Miss Nicole. So Nicole, you guys, has dealt with a bout of depression, and she also has had to deal with grief management. Okay, so we'll talk about those with Nikki and talk a little bit about her journey. And you definitely knew something was wrong, right? Let's talk about how it started. How did you know something was wrong? And were you formally diagnosed, or you diagnosed yourself? I know you need a whole 2 hours. We're going to bring you back for season 3 as well.
No.
But how did you know something was wrong?
Well, I didn't know. So I grew up in a small town, in a rural area. Shout out to Liberty, Texas. And so growing up in a small town, and nothing against my parents, nothing against other parents, they would allow us to drink at like 8th grade. My husband was tripping when I told him that. He was like, "Oh my God."
I'm like, alcohol drink?
They would let us drink in 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade. I remember one time prom and they had a whole separate room with alcohol. Because they believed in, we want y'all to drink.
8th grade.
And so, but anyway, by the time I got to college, all my friends was excited, staying up all night drinking, and then I would just be like, oh, whatever. Because I've been there, done that. So I kind of was over, but I would still drink, but I wasn't as excited as they were, because, that was their first time without their parents, and, they were just, I was like, we used to do this around our parents, so
Yeah.
So, but anyway, let's fast forward to 2008. My dad has an identical twin brother, and so my dad's identical twin brother died in April, and then my daddy died in November. Now, for me, I was devastated because I felt like I saw my daddy land in a casket twice, so I had to go through that, which was traumatic, and then watch my daddy scream and holler in pain because they were identical twins. Whatever he hurt, they would crack. I'd be like, "What? Your foot hurt?" "Yeah, baby, my foot hurt." I'd go to my dad's house. "Oh man, I don't know what's wrong with my foot." Like they literally would.
Twins are really good like that.
They ended up marrying 2 sisters. So I have double first cousins, and that's another thing.
Yes, it is.
So we all look alike, So, but anyway, so that was in 2008. I remember at his funeral, I said, "Daddy, Obama made president," because he said, "Man, I just can't wait to see this first black man,"
Right.
So he didn't get to see it, but he saw he was gonna win. But anyway, that's just another thing in there. But so after my dad died, I just checked out completely. Like I would drink a whole bottle of wine, wouldn't eat. I lost so much weight. People thought I was doing, drugs, but it was wine. I was a wino, like
you were depressed.
That's the only way I could go to sleep. I was self-medicating. My mind wouldn't stop. I couldn't look at my dad's pictures. I couldn't, I was just a mess. And then being married and having a daughter, Finally, a year later, I had to shake myself. I said, you know what? Because my daddy, he was very vain. So he would want me to act a fool, but not that long. I was like, now he probably like, girl, now you need to get it together. You have a baby. You have a husband. You got to get together.
Yeah.
So I started going to grief counseling. I finally looked at his pictures, and I laughed all night looking at his pictures. So that helped me. And then went to grief counseling, and then fast forward, I still would have these triggers, and throughout the years, I would just still like self-medicate whenever I would feel sad about my daddy. It wasn't like how I did that whole year, but I still would just have these triggers, or just some days I didn't know what was wrong. I was like, why my brain won't stop? Why I can't calm down? I would feel overwhelmed, anxious. I'm like you. If I'm in a room full of people, that's why I never been to Essence Festival. Everybody be like, girl, I can't believe you never did that. I said, because I'm scared. I don't know where I'm going to run. Something happened. You know, I went to Mardi Gras and stressed out. So I'm just saying, like, I'm anxious in big crowds. But all these little things, I didn't realize I had anxiety until I finally went to a doctor. And then they said, you have anxiety and acute depression. So I was like, okay, what's that? And then it's like anxiety and acute depression. And then this is why you're having panic attacks. This is why this is happening. This is why triggers are making you feel a certain way. Okay, so fast forward, I'm like, okay, so this is what I have. All right. So then I had to start trying to, you got to go see doctors for this stuff. And I was telling Carlotta one day, I said, man, I have insurance, and it's tough for me to get an appointment because it's a racket. You know what I'm saying? They talk about how they want to help people with mental illness. But I had insurance, and they would tell me I had to wait 6 months for an appointment because all the other doctors, the good ones, I would say, don't take insurance. And I'm like, so I'm paying all this money a month out of my check for insurance, and then turn around and pay, even though, if this is that bad, you would go ahead and it's an investment. But still, I was like, I had a problem with that. And then I started realizing, when I finally did see a doctor, it was like, oh, we're going to give you this amount, but come back in 6 months, no, 3 months. And then I go back and then they go, oh, we're going to do this. I mean, I kept saying, look, y'all just nickeling and diming me.
So they diagnosed you, but it was hard for you to actually get the help that you needed,
and I
get the medication, get the visits.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I just got tired, and I just said, you know what, I got to figure something out. So then that's when I started researching the whole situation. Couldn't find out. My parents they have anxiety and depression. My uncle that passed, him and they are everybody. It's hereditary.
It's hereditary,
right?
Okay.
So
but
I didn't realize that because growing up, then I thought back. I said, you know what? Maybe that's why when I used to go to parties when I was in high school, I used to have to drink before I go to the party. See, I had anxiety and probably didn't know it. And then I think it really triggered bad is when traumatized me, as we talk about the trauma, is seeing my daddy, who's my best friend, laying in the casket. Which I'm doing better with that, thank God, because that was hard, because I was very close to my father. But it's very overwhelming, and so what I've decided to do, this is what I'm doing now for myself. I do massages. I'm doing the holistic approach because even those medications, I would be like zombie out, or the side effects. I don't think it's really. I think it's a money thing. You know what I'm saying? The whole thing.
And that's the sad part.
But foods play a part in our moods as well.
Yes. Yeah,
like how we're eating and things like
but
that.
When you have anxiety, and you have depression, it's like you don't even eat. Then when you finally eat, you eat bad because you didn't drink the whole bottle of wine.
Then you want to just eat everything in sight. You want to eat everything in sight.
Yeah. Wow. So then when people and my husband, I love him to death, but sometimes people, because it's not cancer. Because somebody have cancer, or somebody have a kidney disease, or something, they be sad. I hope you feel better. But sometimes when you have anxiety and because it's mental, they be like, girl, you gonna be all right. Let's just pray.
Exactly.
Yeah, they don't take it as serious.
And I'm like, I wish I could.
You can't see it.
Oh yeah, you
that's
can't.
That's what it is. You can't really see it.
No, you can't.
Oh, you're just having a bad day. Get over it.
Yeah, right.
No.
Girl, let's pray this away.
How did your family feel when you were going through this? Did they help? Did they know? Did they not help? I mean, how?
First of all, they didn't like me.
How was everybody around you?
They didn't like me. No one would want me to abuse alcohol. But for me, that was self-care. Because, not self-care, self-medicating.
Self-medicating.
Because when I was little, I thought about it. We go to the funeral. Everybody drink.
Right.
You go to the wedding, everybody drink.
Yeah.
We go to church for midnight mass. We drinking before we go to midnight mass.
Oh my.
Alcohol was included in my entire life.
Yeah.
So the moment I have a problem, what you think you gonna run
Right.
to?
Yeah.
So that's what I ran. That was my go-to. You know.
Yeah.
Comfort.
And to you know, now don't get me wrong, like and this might sound crazy, but I mean I can drink sometimes, but I'm just saying I don't like when I do it for the other.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's not, and that's when I'm triggering and having that anxiety, and that's when
Yeah.
you know I have to start go get massages that week, or I'm looking into acupuncture, just doing different things to get myself right, because I do have a daughter, and I really hope she don't have this. This is nothing anyone want, and I feel like I'm gonna have to battle this for the rest of my life since it is hereditary.
Yeah.
I have a certain gene in me that is there.
It's there.
All I can do is try to manage it.
Yeah.
And
How was I'm sorry, cut you off. How was your faith level, your spirituality at this point? That was a factor that helped you get over some hurdles at some point,
this
right?
This would be interesting for you guys to know. I married my husband. His whole family is in the church. His dad is a pastor. His brother's a pastor. My husband is a minister. So when I first got married to him, I went to church every Sunday, sat there, I grew up Catholic. So for me to switch from Catholic to Baptist, I'm like, that's a big difference. We was Zodi Cohen and drinking with the priest, and then you go to this church, and it's like, no. I remember when I first married my husband, I would go to his house and I'd be like, y'all don't alcohol here? Like, what's up? He go, girl, please, alcohol here, But so that was, that something I had to get, change on. And so, so for me, I never paid attention in church. But when I was Catholic, because we just went because my parents told me, hey, that's where y'all going, But getting, being grown and then getting married into a church family, I was like, I'm going to follow my husband, because that's what, I didn't want to go to separate churches. It wasn't like I was paying attention in Catholic church anyway, so why not just go with my husband? So for years, especially like after my dad died, I felt like I left my daddy in the ground. When I left that graveyard, I kept saying, I got to go get my daddy at the ground, because to me, my daddy was in the ground. Because I wasn't there yet.
You were disconnected from God.
I didn't have a relationship with God yet. Even though I would go to church, my family was church people, and I loved listening to my father-in-law's sermons because they made me feel good, but I still didn't have a relationship with God.
Right.
And if you don't have a relationship with God, you won't get it. And so finally, my father-in-law would talk to me. He would say, you need to learn how to memorialize your father. And this and that. And he worked with me a little bit, but still, it took me to say, you know what, I gotta do something. Like, this is crazy, because I kept thinking my daddy's in the ground. So I started going to this Bible class to get baptized. And people would pass it by. They go, girl, what you here doing? Aren't you married to them? I go, but I don't just do stuff to do it. Like, I want to go through the whole thing so I can understand. I got baptized my dad died in 2008. I got baptized in 2013. And but I did that, and I've been married to my husband since 1994. So see, this is many years. So this is something and they never was like, his parents was like, you need to get baptized. They knew me.
So after the baptism, how did you feel about everything?
I felt, now I know my dad is not in the ground.
You have that connection now.
And then my whole problem was, I kept saying, golly, I'm gonna be better, but I go to the club sometimes, I do this. Because, that's how the people, that's how I would feel, because everybody they do stuff, but you know how they play like they don't. So I was like, I was confused.
Keep talking about real talk and keeping it real.
Right. I'm just saying.
No, that's
so
real.
I was confused. And
then
then I said, you know what? Why I'm sitting up here letting them be the judge? Like, if I was drowning, I would want somebody to throw me a life jacket, so I'm drowning. So guess what? I'm going to do me now. So I left that alone, because I was too concerned about people. Saying, oh, look at her. Wasn't she? I saw her here, and I saw her at the Sky Bar. I saw her with a drink in her hand. I mean, you just... And people can really
Mm-hmm.
do
You
that
let
to
them.
you.
You
And
let
I-
them.
And I'm
Yeah.
not even. I'm a stronger-minded person than that, but
Yeah.
I did on that. Because I think 'cause I was married in the church family, so you
You
get
feel like you
watched
have pressure for you to
Exactly.
behave a certain way.
Oh, of course,
Yeah,
girl.
Yeah, you criticize double.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
every time her dress was short, her like I've
I'm
always
saying right now, I can't marry no little half.
right. But it's all good because you know what? When I realized they was doing that to me in '94, and all my did, I still do it because when I get tired of doing that, then I stop.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
And the important
Right.
is your relationship with God, not your
right.
judgment from other people.
Yeah, and I wish more people
Yeah.
would do that because I think more people would get saved.
Right.
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
Sound like you did a lot of initiating getting your own help.
Yeah.
You went to counseling, you got baptized, you learned a closer relationship with God.
Yeah.
You made a lot of positive steps in the right direction
Yeah.
on your own.
Yeah, I was tired though.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
when
sure.
you know that's
Yeah.
not you, and you
Right.
like, what you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Why-
your depression.
Why you look snap out of it? Like she
Yeah.
said somebody picked
Yeah.
her, and then he said he was self motivated,
Right.
and positive.
Right.
I mean, I
Right,
feel
right.
like sometimes it's gonna be in you.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
if you waiting on somebody else, it ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean that's
Yeah.
what I think.
No,
So
absolutely.
your depression and your grief management was intertwined,
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
So I think
and I
that-
always had it and didn't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just that as a younger person, you don't go through so much. I mean,
Yeah.
we were figuring out what we wearing out for the
Right.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
but then as
Yeah.
you get older, now we're seeing people dying.
Right,
Just
right.
things are happening. you
Yeah.
know. Adulting is what they call it.
Yeah, adulting.
I mean, we was just kicking it, so who cared? Like,
Yeah.
but now
Yeah.
it's like, it's always, something.
Yeah.
And that's why I was asking somebody, say, is it me or because I'm getting older? Because every time I cut on that news, I want to cut it off. I mean,
Yeah, everything is so negative and depressing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really like to watch the news either. So,
But you
I
know
prefer
what's
to watch
so crazy?
positive
I'm gonna
shows.
tell y'all something else so crazy. And
Okay.
I talk a lot.
Yeah, we're gonna have to wrap it up. We're gonna have to wrap it up.
I do social. I work in the community with a lot of people that has more issues than me, and people be like, "How do you do that job? I would be so depressed." But because I have a passion of helping people, I do that. While I'm at work, I work hard for them. But then when I go home, I can cut it off because I know that's all I can do.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just gotta have a passion to do things.
Yeah.
Cause who gonna do it?
Yeah.
I mean, I like blood, but I'm glad we got doctors.
Right.
You
Right,
know what I'm
right.
saying?
You're not like a phlebotomist. You wouldn't want to go draw everybody's blood.
Right. So, but anyway,
Yeah.
that's where I'm at.
So you guys are all survivors, and I'm so very proud of you all. We're going to do final thoughts and comments, and so we'll start with Nikki and work back around this way. So for people out there that are dealing with depression right now, dealing with grief or whatever is happening in their life, what advice do you have for them?
I would say definitely go get counseling. It is a real thing. Don't let nobody tell you it's not. It does not make you a bad person. Because I feel I'm a very good person, but so don't do that. Just get the help, and it's all about self-awareness.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Tyra, what advice do you have of toxic and unhealthy relationships for people out there that's dealing with it today?
For sure. I would say have real conversations with yourself. Be honest with yourself before, even if you're not honest with anyone else, know your value, know your worth, know how much God loves you, know what your purpose is, and you can't really fulfill your purpose to be your full flourishing self or even help the next person along their journey that's connected to you if you're in a toxic relationship. God's purpose for us is beyond that, and if you're in a breeding ground where a person is negative that you're that intimate with, and a toxic relationship is not just intimate relationship. It could be family, it could be friends, but if there's a toxic relationship that you're connected to, it's going to be pulling you down in some capacity.
Right.
So regardless of how much it may hurt now to cut it off, it's going to do a lot more damage the longer you continue to stay in that situation. So just take a moment to be honest with yourself. Know that you are amazingly and wonderfully made.
Yes.
And find the strength, if you don't have it within you, to reach out to one person to help you. And if it's not a person here, God is always there to help you pull through.
Yes, yes.
That's right.
I second that. Dietrich, Anyone out there dealing with cancer, depression? Final thoughts for them?
Just stay positive. I mean, I know it's hard. I know a lot of times, dealing with chemotherapy or just constantly having people asking you, "Are you all right? Are you all right? How you feel?" and all those things. I know, but you just have to understand that they care about you, they're concerned about you, and allow them to be that. And don't try to make yourself out to be a super person. You're not. You're not. But more than anything, just stay positive. Positivity, really gets you to the next level. Yes,
Mindset.
Yes.
Positive mindset.
Yes.
So no matter what you guys are going through, please stay prayerful, have a positive mindset, try to laugh or smile your way through it. You don't have to deal with it alone. There's a crisis hotline out there, and they will direct you to whatever your situation is that is applicable to you. So if you call that crisis hotline, that number is 1-800-828-SAFE. That's 1-800-828-7233. So if you or someone you know is dealing with any of these issues that we discussed today, please reach out and make that call. So again, we're at Real Talk Houston Studios. We are broadcasting today from the think tank at Real Talk Houston Studios. I am Carlotta B. Thank you guys so very much for joining us, and we love you. Next up, we're going to have the season finale for Real Talk Houston. I got something very, very special lined up for you guys. Don't miss that. Stay tuned for that actual date. It's going to be on a weekend. It will not be on a Thursday. So you guys, please stay tuned for that, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon. Real Talk Houston, you guys. Thank you so much.